Okay. Now, what you're going to do when you advance to attack, you can do it two ways. You can advance with your arms and reach, or you can do a step and attack. Okay. So take your front leg, move it about a foot, and at the same time reach out and touch. Put a little oomph on it. I mean, put a little motion on it. Not oomph, put a little motion on it, like you're chopping. Now, your main target is always going to be the center mass, because as she moves, bobbing around, zibbing, zabbing, that's not going to move that much. Everything else around that is going to move, so center mass. But your favorite shots are going to be forearm, biceps, right under the chin, the throat, the top, bottom of the helmet, right in here. If you're shooting high on the helmet, you're going to miss. It's going to glance. As people are moving around, it's just not going to work. So if we're in guard, go ahead and keep guard with me. So from here, if I want to chop, I'm going to step forward. I can drop the blade right below her guard with the leg. I can push through it, push through the head, or like I said before, you have a back cut that can go to either way. But that you want to step forward when you do it. This is very rudimentary. I don't mean to be talking down to anybody that knows the basics. Okay, but that's where we're starting at today. So, in order for me to make up the distance, back off from each other a little bit. Get in your stance. All right. Now, as you move forward, and you're going to incorporate a little movement that I just showed you, you never ever want to cross your legs. Okay? Don't ever step across your own leg, because if you do and they move on you and you go to twist, you'll just fall. So, I think the embarrassment's actually worse. The game killed in SCA because somebody always videotapes this. But
no.
When you move, you're going to want to move laterally. Feet like you're walking in a circle. And while you're doing this, we're going to look at range. Know what your range is. Know how far you can reach out. Know how far you can hit comfortably. You can't. The last 2 inches are usually not going to be usually That's the sweet spot. 6 inches in. It gives you all your range. It gives you just enough power to get what you want. So what you have to do is stand with your opponent. If she and I, get your guard in place. If she and I are here, my sweet spot's there. You know, we might start off here, and I'm going to have to start maneuvering around. I'm going to slowly close the circle. As I'm moving, I'm going to slowly close it up until I'm in my sweet spot, or to where I can step in and take my shot. So that's what I want you to do right now. Pair off trade in with somebody. It's necessary. Kind of pair off. Move this off. Move. Push on each other's weapons a little bit, but don't let them push it out of the way. If you need to, go under and come around the. There you go. Wild with it, don't get too big. Drop to the side. Hold up. If you end up over here, wherever your opponent is, you off the bearing because they can't attack you to give you the advantage. Or hitting them first, etc., etc. It's all about nuance. It's all about limit motion as much. Little motion as you can do to get the kill. Okay. So, in essence, if you and I are this little L of his arm and his polearm here, like a U or an L, this is, I call that the sweet spot. If I get into that, he can't stop me if he hits me. Because if I can get behind that polearm, all he does is pull it into the front. It just pulls it right into the chest. So if you can thrust, when you thrust somebody, we'll talk about thrusting in a second. If you thrust right into that crook in the head, don't go to the outside. It'll literally almost 90% of the time it just plants on it. Once you get inside of the head, all he's going to do is tighten down. Okay? So practice motion for a second. I want you to practice trying to see the opening. Just manipulate with your punch. Do that for a second. I'm trying to see if I can see anything you're doing wrong.
I appreciate it. Because you're right to me.
Did you feel comfortable with it? It's all about like you're like a big okay. Now think about the pivot. If you could just put your polearm on me and walk. But if I want to close in my distance, you see what I'm doing? I'm going to get a little bit more. And I might do that to manipulate my opponent into thinking he has more than he has. So he engages himself. I want you to engage about 6 inches outside of your own range. So you miss. And then if you miss, you engage. I can capitalize on that. Okay? So for instance, if we're fighting and I go to thrust and say I miss, at that point, step forward with your foot. Now drive it. Drive it with your front hand too. Now you let go right about there. Alright, now pull back. You see what I'm saying? Take advantage of anything that gives you that opening. Anything. How you guys feel about it? Counterplay, touching your opponent's weapon. Yeah. Push off. Everything you should feel it. The motion, the pushing, the strength, everything. Hips. Don't think about chest, think about hips. As you go to pivot, we're talking about this in a second. When you go to pivot, the dodge and weave, it's at the hips. It's not up here. You just do this. Giving that center mass to your power. At your hips. Motion. Basic hits are gonna work. They're just gonna come into it and start getting to the next step. All right. Let's do bobbing and weaving. If I'm fighting somebody, I'm fighting him.
Sorry.
It should be a little bit lower, a little bit low, like you're getting ready to take a dump. Okay? Like you're a little kid, you're going to be touching, but you're going to be light on your feet. You don't want to be planted. Some guys you'll see them plant their back foot, and that's okay because you can spring off of it. But if they get pushed, you got to be able to come off of that fast. So you want to stay light. You want to be able to come around, okay, and manipulate. And just by bobbing and weaving, if he goes to throw a shot, so if I go into a high guard, see, I've got several avenues, okay? But if I go to chop at him and he pivots at his hip and goes that way, no, don't step, just pivot, just shift, just lean. There you go. The shots can miss. Same thing with a thrust. If I throw a thrust and he can bob and weave, or a head shot, especially head thrusts, stay at the hips. You're still planted. Your legs are still available if you're pivoting at your hip. If you're pivoting at your chest, you're throwing too much of your balance off. Does that make sense? Does it really? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to express the things that I know in words. So does that make sense to you guys? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you can bob and weave at your hips, not only are you still gyroscopically kind of planted, and balanced, but you should be able to bob and weave and avoid shots and get your shots in. If I can drop my shoulder, that automatically gives me some power. If I drop that hip down here, it goes out of your hip. So from here, I can still use my hip to drive that shot in. As I come up, if I'm going to do a back cut, that's all hips. There's any arms there. Okay, so use your hips. Your hips everything should come out of your hips. I can thrust him, I can take his weapon out of his hand. I'm not trying real hard. It's all tight little hip circles. It's all these little hip motions. Was any of that easy? Would you let me do any of that?
Try not to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you can get to where you use your hips, and it's not the way most guys do polearm. This is up close, smash mouth, in your face kind of polearm.
Well, smash mouths later.
This is This is, yeah. But this is up close polearm. This isn't standing there and doing this in a melee. This is going to be when the lines crash, you're going to take out the shield guys in front of you. You should be able to kill shieldmen, fight and stop. Okay? So, again, I want you to start, do your dueling with somebody, do your little pivots, do your stuff, okay? But focus on doing it from your hip. Kind of see about your motions. I should have a little bit of range of motion. Again, take it right out of his hand. If you look where that grip is, if you can get behind it, go ahead and get behind the polearm. There you go. Now flip, push it. No, you gotta do it quick. There you go, that's a little better. Okay, but you want to get in behind it, take it right out of his hand. Okay? You're getting tired of that, aren't you? All right. Did you understand what I meant about getting behind it? Be on this side of the polearm. If you can find that gap between my fingers, get behind it and snap it out of my hand. Now, when you do that to somebody, and I'm not going to do it because of my knee right now, but when you do it to somebody, take it out of their hand, or even get them to disengage to where they're at that point, go in.
Okay, step it up.
I mean, close in. You can close in quickly with the thrust. You can close in just to control their weapon. Now, if I end up here with my hips, I don't care if he even halfway blocks it, he's gone. Because I've got the power in your hips. I mean, even if he gets something up somehow to block it, okay? Because there's a lot of push involved in it too, but there's a snap. There is a snap there before the push. I don't want to get too far ahead on some of the smashy stuff before we get the basics down. So, thrusting. Let's go thrusting now. And then we'll work on something. I'll throw a bunch of stuff at you. We'll work on it. We'll throw it at you again. Thrusting. When you go to thrust, actually get over here next to me. At the same time as these two guys. Or two guys. You mind stepping in? Okay, you should. When you go to thrust, there's a whole bunch of different ways to thrust. You can just thrust with a power arm. Okay, like if you're nipping at somebody, you want to nip at them, you can just nip at them. Okay, you have kind of if I'm closing in and we're smashing up, and I want to come in and I just want to drive it,